It's an amazing Tuesday morning, and so good to see you. I'd like to say, well, this is Global Morning, and you're on to Global Television, where we are live in Abuja, the capital city of Nigeria. I'm Uyi Agmofogbe. Shortly, you'll meet my colleague and co-host, Priscilla Obasi, together with whom we are doing this with you for the next 2.5 hours or thereabouts. Well, as always, a loaded program, no doubt about that, to be engaging, interactive, and quite riveting. The 2027 general election is upon us, and this is the electioneering year, as they call it. So much to talk about in that regard today, especially as it has to do with the internal mechanisms of political parties. For many people, the role is a game of garbage in, garbage out. So if you don't get it right within the political parties themselves, then there is a slim chance, if any, that we can get it right as a country, especially since what we practice is called democracy. So let me be democratic by officially introducing Priscilla Chineye Obasi. How are you today?
I feel like the special guest of honor.
Yes. The only thing is we didn't give you a bouquet of flowers, right?
This, I deserve one. Good
You
morning,
do.
viewers. I have, this morning I've had my own share. I know you say I've come again, but we need to keep talking about these things, right?
Okay.
I've had my own share
Of
what do I call it now? Do I call it patriarchy?
this is not the war of the sexes, is it?
No, it's not. But I mean, I was trying to come to work, and I bought a taxi, or along as they call it,
right,
to come here, and I noticed I'm late, so I tried to look for an alternative, and then I see that the alternative wasn't working. I come back to this guy, and he says, I'm not taking you again. I'm like, what have I done?
Because you breached the contract?
Exactly. I don't understand. I'm not entitled to have options.
Okay.
And then I was there trying to explain to him that the kind of work I do, I cannot be late. And he says, madam, I'm not taking you. And then...
Meanwhile, you had stepped out of the vehicle.
I just stepped out.
Okay.
I wasn't far away from him, so he saw me looking for another alternative. You know that this whole taxi guys, there's a place they park, and they load turn by turn. Like
a taxi hub.
Exactly, they load turn by turn. So I had to just leave that option because it wasn't coming forth for me, and I was looking at my time. So when I saw that the other option wasn't coming for either, I just, I was somewhere in between, but I didn't go far. So the guy says, no, madam, I know they take you again. I'm like, what have I done? Okay, can't I look for alternatives? Can't you guys understand that people have jobs and they have time?
Time is sensitive.
Yes, time is quite sensitive. It's that you people don't want to put yourself in people's shoes. And while I was talking, a guy comes into the car and asks him, he walks away too. So I was there arguing with him, or the car was already getting full. At least it was a better option for him, for me. So I got in, and that same guy came back to the car and entered. This man did not say anything. So what would you call that?
Okay. Back in the day, they would say choose options for university when you were entering for JAMB. Yeah. Options for university, 2 options, I think. Options for course, 2 options as well. There were universities that warned prospective candidates to say, look, this was even before the days of post-UTME. If you know what is good for you, your best interest, don't choose us as your second option. We're not second choice. You either make us a first choice, or you don't choose us at all.
So what if someone else now? Okay, let me hear you out.
So I think that's pretty much what's playing out here.
Okay.
So the man feels you are making him an afterthought.
Okay, so why didn't he react the same way to the guy that did the same thing?
Well, because the motives were different.
Motives?
Right.
He also went to look for alternative, just as I did.
I think he was about who started it first. He probably thinks you set a bad example for the left gentleman.
So I have to
pay
the price.
Yeah, exactly. You have to pay the price.
For every other person.
Well, it wasn't a bullet. It was a slap in the wrist.
Well, I mean, this Nigerian business owners, especially, need to understand that people have rights. I don't know.
Consumer protection.
I don't know who is even in charge of regulating these things, but they need to know that I have a right to buy. In America, in the Western world, for example, you get a product and you're not satisfied. You can even take 1 month to return that. Yeah, but Nigeria, you just buy it from the woman's shop. You go home, the woman says, you have already touched it.
Sometimes they don't get home.
You don't even get
maybe you're still around the market or the mall, as the case may be,
and
and
they
you
start
say,
getting angry.
well, it has left our shelf.
It has left our shelf. You can't take it back.
Right.
I mean, sometimes you have to even say, okay, give me half of the money. I've had situations like that.
Right. Just
And
compromise.
Exactly. These things are not okay. They're not normal. I understand that the economy is burning and all of that. And maybe, I think it happens most where people have monopolized a market.
Right.
For example, you are on the street and there's just one woman that is
Selling
selling in that environment.
And she has
knows
nice
that-
cuts of fish around
knows
it.
that
She's the only one.
She knows that you don't have an option. So she will do everything she can do
Right.
to make you feel that impact.
And
it's-
own the market.
And own the market.
Right.
It's bad. It's
It
wrong.
is.
We need to have a regulatory agency. I don't know if
We do. We have the FCCPC, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection
How many
Council.
traders know
I
that?
think they just started waking up recently, if you ask me. We're seeing some of the moves they've made. We're seeing how that, just a few days ago, they formally entered into some sort of, I'd like to call it interagency collaboration with with NAFDAC, right?
Okay.
Which for me is sort of forward-looking initiative. But beyond that, we must see real cases where, because what you're saying now is even more like a pedestrian case, but we're seeing some that are even worse on a larger scale, involving corporate entities,
Yeah.
right? We must see the law punishing those entities.
Yeah.
Defective products, for example, our customers being shortchanged, something that's supposed to sell for 7 naira, you sell it for 11 naira, and you've done that over time for several years, and everybody seems to be looking the other way, including the regulatory authorities. We have to look at all of this. I remember of a case quite a number of years ago. Again, it was, to use the words, in the Western world. This was in the US in particular, where some persons, most Americans, had donated to a cause. It was a humanitarian cause, purely humanitarian. But then the Congress looked at it and said, look, it didn't follow due process. It was not a criminal issue, but they just said didn't follow due process. I can't remember what exactly the specifics were. But then Congress called the head of an internationally reputable agency to come answer questions in that regard. And when she had responded to the issues raised by Congress, it was not resolved again by Congress. They say, look, we must refund these monies to everybody who has donated because this cause can't move on. Okay. Right? So to the person, the very least person who donated maybe 50 cents or $1, they refunded monies to all of them. Then I cycle back to Nigeria or anywhere in Africa and ask myself, if that same exact scenario had played out here, could we have had the same kind of response from our National Assembly? At least I can't speak for the other National Assemblies or legislatures.
Some even go as far as taking matters to court, but
Right.
it becomes a case of who knows who in the system. For example, the case of the lady that came out to cry of a certain bread company.
Right.
She said,
well, that bread company has been cleared now.
She has been cleared.
My wife's favorite bread, by the way. Don't let her know.
Well, I'm wondering. The interesting part of that story is the lady herself said it might not even be that company because when she came out to make that video,
she was not specific about the brand.
So there were people trying to call out the brand on her behalf.
And then the brand now responded.
The brand now decides to respond. This lady has not called you out.
Right.
She didn't tag you, and then you decide to respond because social media users decided to lend their voice.
But if you were that brand, what would you have done differently? You would have done the same.
How did they respond is the question. They responded with trying to sue her. It was totally...
Well, if you try to sue her for me, I don't have a problem with that because ultimately you are going to end up in courts. Where I've become really disturbed is if you now use underhand tactics or some sort of extrajudicial means to want to seek justice where you feel your rights have been infringed upon. If you say let's go to court, of course. It's only in Nigeria we make it look like court is. If you say let's go to court, then you are coming with your facts.
Yes.
The lady or whoever the person is also coming with their facts,
yes.
right? But again, I understand where you're heading with all of this. We must have a culture where corporate entities do not ride, as they call it, roughshod over consumers, over citizens, and then get away with it. Because these people are called corporate citizens, all right? We must treat them as such. They must be subjected to the same laws as the rest of us. Exactly. So that doesn't become like if a company, let's say my telecom service provider, all right, cheats me, quote and unquote, and then I want to go to court, and Priscilla says, no, there's no need. You are going to lose already,
exactly.
So don't bother.
You just know.
Right. If we have that kind of culture, then it means we have a much bigger problem on our hands.
Absolutely.
And that's quite disturbing.
It is.
I think consumer protection issues are some of the most complicated, right? Because they have to do with quite a number of elements, including human life and then the issue of life and death, because most of them have to do with unwholesome products, medicines, food, water, and what have you. So in a country like ours, where the laws are there, the regulations and enforcement are weak, we must be 3 times more concerned than anyone else in the world.
I don't also think that it's something difficult. It's not rocket science. You're talking about food. There are scientific processes to pass things through.
Then who enforces those processes?
That's the
I just talked about 2 things, enforcement and the regulation. And again, do Nigerians, you and I, do we really have implicit trust in these regulatory authorities?
That's the problem.
Because somebody is going to tell you, then don't collect money. They may not have collected money, but because of the kind of system we are used to, these are things we have seen time and again. They say, for example, there are people who still say that NAFDAC died with late Professor Akunyeli. We can have that debate all night. But then there are others who say that Professor Adeyeye, the current DG, is doing amazing work. Right? It depends on who is doing the assessment.
And it depends on who is viewing, what the perception is,
right?
Experience. It all depends on.
Because people have had first-hand experiences, and you can't argue someone's experience.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, this debate has to end somehow. But again, Priscilla is not going to court. That's the good thing, right? Well, a lot to talk about on the program as always today. Politics is big, and then of course we'll motivate you. But first of all, we understand that breakfast ought to be served, and there's no other way to serve breakfast here on the program, because it's a breakfast show, by the way, than to bring you tastes and texture.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Taste and Texture. Today we're going to prepare a delicious Nigerian delicacy, and we will be demonstrating it from scratch. Our delicacy on this episode is beans cake and pap. I am your creative chef, Saadatu Garba. Beans cake, popularly known as akara, and pap is one of the traditional breakfast options in a Nigerian household. Akara and pap is a hearty morning meal for most homes because of its light and filling nature. It is a delicacy made from beans, while pap is made from maize. I hope you enjoy the recipe. Ingredients: beans, red bell peppers and scotch bonnets, onions, vegetable oil, salt and water. The ingredients for pap include pap, water, canned or powdered milk, and sugar. To prepare, wash and peel your beans. Add your beans, onions, and peppers into the blender. Add a little water and blend till smooth. After blending, transfer into a bowl and use a mixer or a spatula to beat the mixture to make it fluffy. Add some onions to your oil to make it flavorful. Fry your akara in batches until golden brown and transfer to strain the excess oil. To make your pap, put the raw pap into a bowl. Add a little bit of cold water, then mix. Boil your water and quickly add into the mixture while turning to avoid lumps. Add your milk and sugar, and your pap is ready. That's it on today's episode of Taste and Texture, and I hope you will try this recipe on your own. I'll see you again on the next creative recipe. This is Saadatu Garba saying take care of yourself.
Okay, so do we classify this as breakfast or morning food?
No, this breakfast. I know money food when I say it. There are places you can go to in this city right now, Priscilla. You see people eating money food. But what we just said now is classical breakfast.
When you eat it, it depends on where you're eating it.
Where you're eating it, what you're eating, and why you're eating it. Okay. Are you eating it because you woke up hungry?
Okay, when you wake up hungry is morning food.
And that sounds so clearly morning food, yes.
When you woke up,
when you eat because you know you have like a busy day ahead of you, and of course the least you can do is to be productive. That's breakfast.
So what if when you eat it, when you woke up hungry, you're eating in the classy place?
Well, you're faking it. So we know what it is. Yes.
Well, then bread, akara, and pap is something that every single Nigerian
almost like a staple kind of breakfast.
They're not related. I don't know about the Gen Zs or the Gen Alphas. Because the culture of akara and pap, I don't know if it's fading away. Maybe it's getting more interesting. People are trying
it's evolving,
to be creative around it. So if you ask our grandmothers, if you take the akara and pap, the typical akara and pap of this very generation, present it to a grandmother in the village.
There will be culture shock.
Exactly, a strong culture shock. But I like the fact that Nigerian chefs
Right.
are really becoming innovative. There's so much variety. Like you look at something like, how did you cook this? And they say they made it from, ingredients that you've known all your life, but you
Right.
never thought of the fact that you can use it to. I think that's the difference between a chef and a cook.
And a cook, right.
A chef is more creative.
A cook just ensures that there's food.
Yeah.
You cook something is healthy. I mean, you can get something in your tummy and then move on. But a chef is the person who brings creativity, innovation, and a higher level of resourcefulness.
My husband always argues that he's a chef, even if he's not a cook. I don't know how someone can be a chef and not a cook.
Well, we need to set up a civil mark committee to look into this issue.
Because he can get creative about combination
Right.
of food. Why not try this? And on the other hand, I'm like, but my mother did not teach me this. This is not what I've known all my life. How can you try this? And
Right.
he tries it. Sometimes it comes out well. Sometimes I'm struggling to understand.
Does he at some point rely on YouTube videos for?
No. He just sometimes some of those things he tries. I now get to see them on YouTube. Like, okay. But there's one inherent. Maybe you should try. I can only give you this title if you decide to take it up. Like
Right.
do it. I know that I can't give you a title for doing something mass.
You have to earn it.
You have to earn it. So if you take care of the food in the house for 1 month, I'll call you a chef.
Well, justice for all the husbands who are putting in the work. Well, it's time to lift your spirit again this Tuesday morning. Let's now join Ramsey Enoch Agbo as we bring you heart-to-heart inspirational.
Well, this is Heart to Heart Inspirational, and of course, we need to let ourselves know that, all right, if life were easy, strength would be unnecessary. Do you get that? If life was an easy thing, we don't need strength now. We don't even need mental calculation. We don't even need to do anything because life is easy. Everything is just going smooth. You just sit down, relax, whatever you want to do, you do. My mother would say, if money were leaves on the tree that you can plug anytime. But it's not like that. Life is not easy, and that is why strength is required. Anyone that tells you life is easy, then that person is not doing you well. No matter how rich your parents are, ask them, is life easy? They'll let you know the truth. And the earlier you realize this, the better. So that you don't lag behind. So that you don't just live a careless life. So that you don't live your life like there is no tomorrow. So that tomorrow don't take you unaware, like some civil servants who will never think about retirement until retirement meets them face to face. This is something of 35 years. What preparation have you done? Depending on pension, waiting for pension. All right. Well, with what's happening right now in our own country, I think a lot of people are becoming wiser because pension itself, well, I don't know who is doing who strong thing, but then I just want us to know that life is not as easy as we think. Whoever that is putting it forward to you that life is easy, I don't think that person is doing you any good. Life is easy. With faith, life is easy. I'm not displacing the place of ease. Life is easy if you know what to do. Yeah, life is easy if you know what to do. Then strength is also required. But if pressure didn't exist, a power wouldn't develop. Because what you're facing right now is not evidence of weakness. It's not because you're weak. Yes, it's not because you're weak. Sometimes these things happen. It's happening to other people, just that they are not voicing out the way you are voicing it out. They are not complaining the way you are complaining. Sometimes complaint don't even solve the problem. Because what you're facing right now is not an evidence of weakness. It is a proof of capacity. Your ability to subdue whatever the situation is what matters. All right? Some people, I don't want to say, but then I know of business owners, especially people who take risk in business. Sometimes if you know the kind of money they lose, you will be shocked. Sometimes we even insult them. But the day they hit it with that risk, oh my God, they can make double of what they've lost. All right? So it takes a man with a large heart, a heart of capacity, someone who has capacity, all right, to make such moves. So sometimes what's happening to you and what you're doing is not a sign of weakness, it's not a sign of foolishness, but it's a proof that you have capacity, and it's a proof that you are growing, and it's a proof that you're ready to change level, and it's a proof that you are tired of the status quo. You want a change of level. You want it to be better than what it is right now. Life, as a matter of fact, tests us not to break us, but to reveal us. Pressure exposes the strength you didn't know you have. I tell you the truth, pressure exposes the strength you never knew existed on your inside. So sometimes your ability to overcome pressure sometimes matters. And that's why when you're going to look for a job in some other places, you hear, all right, do you work under pressure? Sometimes it happens. You don't beg for it to happen sometimes, but it happens. Even at home, in your family, it happens. Between you and your siblings, sometimes you see some things, some kind of pressure comes. All right? Those pressures exposes your strength. Your ability to handle those pressure, those times is what matters. It makes you. The weight you are carrying build your muscle in your character. That is true. What am I saying? I'm trying to let you know that the weight you are carrying sometimes is building your muscle in your character. Storms don't last forever. That reminds me of one of Kirk Franklin's songs that we used to sing those days. Storms don't last always. All right? Storms will come, whether you like it or not. In as much as life is there, storms must come, but it doesn't last and it doesn't exist all the time. But resilient people do exist, irrespective of the kind of storm they have been faced with. You've survived things that once made you cry. Am I telling your mind? Am I saying the truth? Am I saying your mind? Yes. Those things that made you cry sometimes back, you survived it. By the time those things are happening again, you already have the muscle to withstand it. You've overcome moments you thought would end your life. Some things happen and you say, whoa, some people think they are finished. Maybe a grace available for this moment. That same strength is still inside of you. There are strength on your inside that have not even manifested. All right. So when pressure comes in your business, in your family, in what you do, in your pursuit for success, don't allow yourself to be weighed down. Let me take gold, for instance. It's been refined by fire, not destroyed by fire. Any gold you see shining today, it went through a refining moment. What refines gold is fire. Fire. They put gold inside fire, heat it. It will be burning it. It's only God that knows what that gold will be saying. But after that moment, it comes out shining. And people will want to pay millions, billions to buy it. All right? That heat doesn't remove the gold. It removes the impurity, the dirt, the unpreparedness, the unreadiness. All right? The procrastinations. All right, the indiscipline, the misbehavior, the unreadiness is being removed by that fire, and you come out pure, you come out refined. Stop asking, why me? Sometimes, a lot of people like asking that question. Oh God, why me? Allah, why me? Oh, why me? Stop asking that question. Start asking, what is this building in me? What is this situation trying to bring out in me? Why did this thing happen to me? God, what are you saying? What is it for? What is it for? Sit down and think. Some people don't even have thinking moments. There are times that you need to shut the door. You need to off your phone. Sit down and think. Strategize. Distraction. Kai, I don't know, but a lot of distraction in this our generation, a lot of distraction in this our days, especially this age of internet. Yeah, a lot of people are doing well with the internet, but then there are times that you need to sit down and just you alone, you and your heart, and what you have conceived in your heart, that is in your head, boiling, how it's going to get into your hand. Sometimes you sing and ponder over it. All right? Trust your resilience. You have survived 100% of your worst days in the past. So what is left? These are the things you should be asking yourself. All right. So I want us to know that this moment will not defeat you. It will develop you. And it's all a matter of choice. You need to decide it. You need to want it. You need to live it. You need to behave it. It needs to be in your head after conceiving it in your heart so that it can enter your hands. Thank you very much. You are a success going somewhere to happen. Recondition your heart and your thinking cap should be on all the time. I'm Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.
Okay, I do hope that that has set you or set your tone for the day. We dive now to the newspaper review segment, and we're starting with the Nigerian News Direct. Let's go to the first story here, and it's on Oyo attack. We expect a breakthrough soon, and that's coming from Tinubu. Again, another reassurance. The writer there says, urges swift passage of state police law. I think this is overdue. I don't know why this just keeps coming to the internet whenever there is...
The state police issue.
Whenever there is insurgency of some sort, you just see it resurface. And I'm like, all the while we didn't have anything, all the while we started this talk, all the while we kept bringing it back. What happens to the implementation process? What is actually holding the state police? Because if you talk to the state governor, they will say, oh, because we don't have access, we don't have so much control of the security infrastructure in our state. So we're depending on the federal government. So I think to be able to hold everyone accountable, this, if you ask me, this week should not pass without implementing the state police, because according to reports, we saw on the internet yesterday that one of the victims was beheaded. And I'm imagining, it's sounding, these things are beginning to sound normal.
I hear that's the math teacher.
You hear these things and you're just thinking there's one movie playing somewhere.
Right, but it's real.
It's real. It's real. It's not a YouTube movie. These are people's uncles, brothers,
even breadwinners.
Fathers, breadwinners. And it's intense. It's serious. I don't know. So I'm really hoping that the president acts as soon as possible, as soon as this week, to implement the state police. Let us set up. We keep talking about security architecture, but we don't talk about it after the incident.
Right. So it becomes like a strategy to placate Nigerians and indeed the bereaved families.
Exactly. As if we're just trying to console them. When it happens, say, oh, don't worry, we're going to do this next. Everybody goes to sleep.
And that's where it dies.
And then we focus on the matter and follow it through. While we're following it through, we're not seeing the strategies. We're not seeing strategies evolve. We're not seeing actions being taken. We're not seeing policies being implemented. What we're saying is, and Nigerian, of course, get all the updates from the internet. So we're just looking for the next update without
the next trend.
The next trend. This matter has not even been trending as it should trend, because we are focusing on frivolities, things that
lighter issues,
people's family problem. This is a nation that is bleeding, literally bleeding.
But we're here discussing internal issues of couples.
It's sad, and honestly, it's not a good one for the government.
Not at all.
It's not. DSS arrests El Rufai after court grants bail. Why? Why is this man. So you want to ask what has he done? But
the El-Rufai case is a bit okay. Well, we're going to try as much as we can not to be sojudice in this brief analysis. The fact of the matter is, he has a matter with ICPC. He has another matter with the DSS. Now, on the one hand, his matter with the ICPC, that's the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, is one that borders squarely on allegations of, as it were, misappropriation of public funds while he was governor of Kaduna State, which the ICPC says runs into billions. And that's why he had been with the ICPC for a very extended period of time. On the flip side, the matter he has with the DSS has to do with national security. Of course, we saw where he said during an interview that he bugged the NSA's phone, that's the National Security Advisor's phone. And the interviewer, the host of the program, the anchor asked him, are you aware that it is illegal, in fact criminal, for you to bug someone's phone, so much so the number one security officer of the country? He said, well, they bug our phones, they listen to our calls, why can't we do the same to them? And as they said, the rest is history. Yesterday, it was a pivotal moment in the case. So it was granted a 100 million naira bail, and the judge says, Justice Lifu, that was at the Federal High Court in Kaduna, said that, look, in addition to the 100 million naira bail bond, you will have to provide a surety who must be a civil servant, of course still working, no less than level 17, must show evidence of salaries in the last 3 years, I think, right? Then, of course, you must deposit, you must have account statements the last 3 months from the sureties bank, which must be within the jurisdiction of the court. You know, so the long and short of the story is that there's complexity in El-Rufai's case, but we do hope that the courts, when I mean the courts now, because there's one in Kaduna, there's one in Abuja, the courts will dispense of the cases as quickly as possible so that justice is done to all the parties involved.
I think it has lingered for
too long.
Without even knowing a direction.
Right.
It just seems as if he's being held. We're not knowing what's the matter. What's the progress?
What's happening?
What have you found out? What did you guys see about him? So
where are we heading?
Where are we heading? It looks more like let's detain him till after 2027 elections. I don't know.
The elections are still far away.
Of course, let's not allow him to get into that political space yet. Let's refrain.
But again, the court will have to decide that, because when the court decides, there's nothing the SPC and of course
are we saying it was just one court that granted bail?
Yes, it was one court, because I think the DSS took him into custody over the issue of national security allegations, a breach of national security.
I'm seeing wonderful prospects. If an El-Rufai can tap into the NSA's phone, why can't we tap into kidnappers' phone?
I don't know the capabilities of Mr. El-Rufai. Maybe he doesn't have the ability or the resources to tap into. No. But I know what you're saying is, if El-Rufai, a private citizen as he is now, can tap into security advisor's phone, why can't the DSS or the military tap into the phones of these terrorists?
Are they more sophisticated than our NSA?
I think we have to get the military authorities to answer that question, because it's quite, it raises curiosity.
It is, it's concerning. And a national security advisor's phone can be tapped into.
Right. And nobody has said it was a lie. Nobody has said that Mr. El-Rufai lied on national television.
As a matter of fact, that's why they're detaining him.
Right. Because it is confirmed that you did it. And they said they went to his house, they saw gadgets that were incriminating in that regard.
It is on that basis they say, we're taking you.
Right.
It is true. It's possible.
And you did it.
You did it. So is it that you don't have so much of sophistication as a national security advisor as what these kidnappers have?
I know where you're headed with this. You're suggesting that Mr. El-Rufai should become a resource person to facilitate training
he should be trained
for the military and for the DSS.
I don't know.
I don't see that happening. I'm sorry.
I don't know what they should do. I really don't know. I don't think he's the only one that should even have such knowledge.
Right.
Because
you can imagine the number of Nigerians who do, home and abroad.
Maybe his sons even do. At least they're not arrested. They can help us with all of that. Some children have DNAs of their parents.
Right.
As they say. So let's go to the next story. Over 118.32 billion naira worth of property saved from fire incident in 2025, and that's coming from, is this Lagos or LASG?
Lagos State Government.
Lagos State Government. Okay, so details on page 3, and I think the fire response team in Lagos are,
they're up and doing, right?
they're up and doing. I saw a clip on the internet the other day of a woman rejoicing, oh, fire service is here, Nigeria is working. Somebody says, wait to be sure that they have water in that attack festival.
So don't celebrate too early.
Don't celebrate too early because...
No, I think they moved past water challenge now.
Okay.
They always have water now. At least I lived in an estate for about 2 years where you had fire service. That's the FCT fire service. They always had water. Every other morning I was going to work. I saw them prepping for any eventuality and things. So there was never a day they didn't have water.
There was never a day they didn't have water. It now depends on where they are going to. If they have to attend to, how many persons they are attending to without water?
Well, you can't have fire burning everywhere in the city. Besides, they are not the only outlets, or I mean,
but you only show up the outlets you know.
Right, you have a few. At least let's talk about one.
Okay, so
are you praying they don't have water?
No, I'm not praying. Yeah, why should I? I mean, next story: Femi Oyetola shelves senatorial ambition, and that's coming on page 3. I see a lot of crimes. Yesterday I saw a video, maybe a picture that had the Senator Ned Nwoko.
Okay, he lost to Ifeanyi Okowa. Ifeanyi Okowa being a former governor, Ned Nwoko being, as it were, the incumbent senator. Ned Nwoko, by the way, is my wife's senator. So I don't know how she feels about Ifeanyi Okowa clenching the tickets.
You should have helped us interview her and bring us.
I don't know how she will feel, so I'm not so sure. Therefore, I won't interview her. I don't want to see tears.
Well, for me, the concerning part is the fact that Ned Nwoko was able to get 3 votes. I mean, 3.
How did that happen? Somebody said on Twitter that Ned Nwoko should call Ifeanyi Okowa to question as to how did he pull it off.
3 votes, like, does it mean that only 3 people
came out
in your constituency came out?
Believe in you?
Believe in you.
Or does it mean the other ones in their numbers who believe in you were not in town?
I don't know.
Did they deliberately travel because they didn't want to participate in the process?
Explain it. His former wife, his ex-wife, came out at some point. She said
his estranged wife.
His estranged wife came out to say she was the one that supported his ambition and even donated to it.
So you say that she pulled out.
She don't like picture. Could it be that?
So the plug has been pulled.
She has pulled out.
She pulled the carpet from under her.
Her mother also came out to say she was part of that success. So right now that they are no longer in the picture, because the wife came out the estranged wife came out to celebrate. I mean, it was
the loss.
She celebrated the loss. But I'm wondering, how do you want? I mean, this is your children's father.
No matter what has happened.
No matter what has happened, you shouldn't do such. As a matter of fact, their finances will come from him. So. I'm not saying that Nigerian politicians have so much money, though. Well,
at least they're not poor.
I'm sure he has.
At least they can afford food.
They can afford food. So, and they have salary. At least their father's salary should not be cut short. Except, of course, he has other businesses. But I don't know. It's not so much of a good one for APC politicians right now. It's almost looking like the general elections itself.
I totally agree. My state is no exception, but we wait till we get into the conversation proper.
Okay, so police arrest 23-year-old for 10 million naira fake bank and transfer fraud. I don't know how Nigerians pull this though. I don't know how someone can be daring enough to give a 10 million, not even 5K, 10 million naira, 10. Well, people should be vigilant.
Right.
I mean, as much as you want to doubt these things, they are true, they are real, and I don't.
23-year-old.
23-year-old. 23-year-old. This guy is such a creator.
And you're wondering, what did he buy to the tune of 10 million?
10 million naira.
And second, how many other persons might he have successfully done this with?
Too. It's concerning. I don't really blame business owners when they say, okay, wait. So when you buy something, I say, I must see the alert first.
I bought the phone one time, I can't forget. I just bought that phone. It was in 2016, I think. I bought the phone. I told them I'd done transfer. The lady says, yes, you have, but Our bank is just by the corner, next building. She walks into the bank to confirm.
Are you serious?
Right.
Wow. That is double verification. Authentication.
Two-way authentication. Right?
Two-way authentication. Two-way.
Okay, they call it two-factor.
Two-factor, exactly. Two-factor authentication. Every Nigerian should activate that right now. Federal government begins implementation of unified tax ID system. This is on page 3. Those are your headlines for the Nigerian News Direct. Next point of call is
the Nigerian Tribune.
Nigerian Tribune.
All right, let's start with the one above the 3 above the nameplates. Actually, the top left corner first on the Nigerian Tribune, a newspaper this morning. It says, Osun government accord alleged planned arrest of officials, party leaders. That's the Nigerian Tribune. The writer says, seeks Tinubu's intervention. Excuse me. ADC screens Bindo, Ogboru, Adegboyega, 67 other governorship aspirants reschedules presidential screening to tomorrow. That's Wednesday. So Ogboru is running, standing for election in Delta. That's APC, even though, well, interesting. Hopefully, oh, no, that can't be for governorship because apparently the incumbent governor is clenching that ticket, talking about Sheriff Obodiwori. All right, what more do we have here? Top right says, alleged national security breach, DSS witness narrates how El-Rufai's TV interview sparked phone tapping investigation. One rider follows that headline that says, court grants ex-governor 100 million naira bail. And then we have the big one that has a rider here saying, Oyo school abduction, we won't bow to terror. Makinde, that's the governor of the host state, that's Oyo State governor, they're talking. Has several riders, but let's do the first 2. Confirmed 7 teachers, 25 students abducted in 2 schools. Can you imagine? Says surveillance aircraft already in Lagos, undergoing final assembly. This looks like a very serious procedural thing. But those details, as disturbing as they are, can be found on pages 2 and 3 of today's issue of the Tribune newspaper. Ondo APC group petitions national chairman over alleged kangaroo reps primaries. Senator escapes death as gunmen invade voting points in Ondo. Guba poll, Ekiti local government workers pledged to deliver 200,000 votes for Oyebamiji. Okay, then there's something on health here. It says just 2 cigarettes daily raise heart failure risk by 50%. That's according to a study. Hopefully those who are in the habit of smoking cigarettes will take this to heart, right? Further down it says Senate primaries, Uzodinma Abiodun Okowa, Bello Peak APC ticket. And then there are riders with it. Senate leader Undume Dafinone returned in Ekiti, Borno, Delta. Ned Wonko Omoagege lose in Delta. Shehu Sani Yero Katung win Kaduna primaries. Oh, Shehu Sani,
I saw that on the internet.
Right.
Well, he has his brother as governor.
Okay, so talking about Ubasani.
Yes.
So you're saying that he holds the aces.
Of course. It's clear.
Well, let's see more riders here. Confusion in Plateau, Edo over conflicting results. Yes, yesterday the Guardian reported that Pastor Osage Ezeyamu had won the Edo South senatorial ticket of the APC, but then other people said no, it was actually Engineer Ogbede Ihama who had won both Pastor Osage Ezeyamu and Lucky Maswen, who was deputy governor of the state at a point, right? Those are all the headlines from the Nigerian Tribune today. Please do yourself a favor, read up details. Next is the Daily Times newspaper.
Okay. Thank you very much. Daily Times newspaper appears maybe a bit scanty, but let's go through it. First story, just above the nameplate. Jonathan, AGF, asked court to dismiss suit on eligibility for 2027 poll. I think this was where he was supposed to start from.
Jonathan?
Yes, because the drama with Nigerian politics. Just imagine that he eventually goes, contest, and wins. somebody comes out and says, "Oh, there's a court case pending
Right.
that restricts you to an extent
From a second term.
second term." So Nigerian politicians must learn to put the cards.
And in that case, it will be a third term.
Because,
In that case, it will be a third
to
term.
be a third term. So they must learn to do the right things
Right,
first.
right.
Do not just jump processes, because this is what now begins to witch hunt them. When you've not cleared the backlog, you now want to
Right.
you want to start building on top a faulty foundation. So we don't know how true the rumors are that he is going to play to the PDP. I don't know what faction of the PDP, but the PDP's presidential ticket. Wike has come out to say, "No, you're not." So again, I say, I don't know the faction of the PDP, but I personally do not think.
We are hearing that it's the Turaki faction of the party.
Okay, so I don't even know which faction of the PDP right now is legal onto being accepted by the independent.
It is the Wike faction in the eye of the law.
In the eye of the law.
Yes, it is the Wike leadership. You see, I had
court ruling said everyone ought to go back to status quo.
everyone being the ADC and the PDP.
Yes.
So what is status quo? Because the term the courts, the judgment uses is status quo ante bellum. That's literally saying return to the state of affairs before conflict started, before the war, quote unquote. That's what it means. So again, that was the same debate we had with the ADC, right? What is status quo ante bellum in this case? Was there ever a time the PDP didn't have leadership?
But what we know is before even the Ibadan Convention,
Right.
the Wike Convention was not ultimately the ruler.
Right.
He was not at any point the leader of the party, of the PDP, before
Right.
they went for.
Obviously.
So at this point, we're not going to, are we returning to where a PDP had come?
So you are saying we should return to when Damagun was the interim chairman?
Exactly. And that, for me, that is the definition. That should be the definition.
When did you say you're starting your law degree again?
Anyways, I guess we'll have to bring the judge.
Incidentally, judges don't appear on public spaces like this.
Maybe we'll have to do a private interview. This doesn't appear on public spaces. Next story: federal government unveils tax ombud portal, call center to protect taxpayers. The tax conversation has been on for a while, and it is sad to know that up till now, we don't really have a clear structure.
As regarding the implementation of the tax laws.
The tax laws, but we just made a lot of noise around.
Right.
It's going to start 1st January. It's going to start. What systems, what structures were laid down
Do you
to
have in
ensure
place?
that we had a good ride, a smooth flight? None. Up till now, we're still talking about tax identity number. Whether all of those conversations, I'm like, this is. Wait, are we a confused nation? Or
You're saying it's becoming more confusing.
it's just, it's not just confusing. It appears as though these people do not even know what they are doing. It's not so difficult. You plan before you implement.
Right.
So how do you implement and start planning after implementation? How does it make sense? Again,
Well, the unforeseen issues.
another reason to be sad that you're a Nigerian, but we'll get through this. That is special.
You already are getting through it.
Oyo school kidnap. Bandits behead teacher. Tinubu Makinde promised rescue of victims. Again, how are we not tapping into the phones? I don't know if you saw the videos of those that came to cry out in the kidnapping zone.
No, I didn't see that video, but I hear it was very touching.
But these people are made to make videos in that spot.
Right.
It's not a matter of, it's not no longer a matter of phone conversation. It's now videos that can give you IP addresses. If you speak to tech guys,
Real-time location.
real-time location. But
Yes, these videos are also posted on the social media.
Segmented.
Right.
And we have, for me, we have enough resources to get this people. But we act as if we don't know. They are living. Someone comes to your house. A crime is happening in your own house,
Right.
and you're saying, what can we do? You're crying alongside instead of trying to locate where it's coming from.
Right.
That's what keeps happening.
And the sad part is you have what it takes to identify these people, pin them down, all right, bring them to face the full weight of the law, but then nobody's answering the question. We're not doing that.
Anyways, NYSC to mobilize only graduates with NERD certificates. What's NERD? I don't think I've looked that up.
NERD certificates.
certificates.
Yes, obviously these are acronyms.
Okay, so you want to look up that, especially if you are someone that is aspiring to be mobilized in NYSC. Every Nigerian student needs to read this so that you don't cry. Those are your headlines for the Daily Times. Next point of call is this day.
All right, let's look at this day for you quickly. Top of the page says Oyedele, a modern tax system must be anchored on trust, fairness, accountability between taxpayers, government. It has a rider with it. Wambweze, goal of reform is to ensure every Nigerian taxpayer has access to fair hearing, effective redress mechanisms. Underneath the name mast, Trump holds off planned Iran attack after a request from Qatari, Saudi, UAE leaders on page 7. 2027, Akpabio, Barau, Bamidele, Kalu, Undume, others win APC primary tickets. And then two writers say, Katung, Sani, Yero, Oshomole, Uzodima, Abiodun, Igiagbe, Unduboise, Umbata also gets Senate ticket. Sokoto Senator eyes Goba seats. In Delta, Okowa defeats Wonko. The Funene floors Omo Agege. It's quite dramatic, but every drama has an end at some point. And then what more do we have? The big one, Tinubu, killing of adopted or your teacher, Barbaric. We are working to arrest killers. I won't allow Priscilla to react to this. Turns out that headline has half a dozen writers with it. Says, promises timely rescue of other victims. Says, bandit collaborators will be apprehended. By the way, we understand the authorities have taken into custody some of the suspects. Urges National Assembly to expedite action on enactment of state police law. Will not give in to terror, but ready to listen to their demands, declares Makinde. Don't let Musa become another Chibok, Northern senators warn. Nigeria, U.S. military kill 20 ISIS SWAP fighters as target operations continue. Those are your headlines this morning from the Tuesday newspaper. Please find details for yourself. You owe yourself that responsibility. Our last paper is the Daily Trust newspaper.
Okay, so the Daily Trust has its first story below the nameplate. Mr. President, please intervene in Bauchi. Call Prof. Pate to order. Details on page 32. Next story, which is a star story. Nigeria bleeds as politics takes the center stage. So such a caption.
Right.
Abducted teacher killed in Oyo. 7 soldiers in Sokoto. So what's expected? Are we supposed to pause political activities until we're able to see an end?
Of course.
To this? Well, I think it's valid though.
It is.
APC Senate primaries. Rochas. Ned Woko. Rochas lost? Well,
I guess the APC is saying anybody can lose.
Don't
overrate yourself.
I don't know. The battle is tough because it's between defectees and loyalists. So let the best Nigerian politician win.
That's it.
91 days after, El-Rufai remains in detention. Page 17 is where you find that detail. 2027, court fixes May 26 for judgment on Jonathan's eligibility. Tanker crashes into house, kills woman and grandson. That's a sad one. Those are your headlines for the Daily Trust.
It happens to be our last paper on the program this morning. As always, we encourage you to please do your utmost to ensure that at least you pick up one of these papers and read up details for yourself. That way you'll be informed and stay ahead of fake news, misinformation, and disinformation. Coming up next is Social Bars with Ogochukwu Mabudo. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
Social media speaks. We listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And on issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Boss Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Good morning, Nigerians and viewers around the world. It's time to look at buzzing issues on social media. And today we are taking this up from Oyo State. Principal and staff member who were adopted from school in Ohoro SNLA community in Orile, local government area of Oyo State, have cried out for help. The gunmen on Friday attacked Baptist Nursery and Primary School, Yawata Community Grammar School, Esele, and LA Primary School in Ogbomosho, all in the local government area. The Oyo Police Command said a teacher and a commercial motorcycle rider were killed during the attack on the school premises. At least 45 school children, the principal, Mrs. Rachel Alamu, and several staff members were reportedly kidnapped during the incident. In a viral video circulating on social media about Sunday, the principal said the armed men attacked the school and abducted several teachers and students. On Friday at around 9:30 a.m., we were attacked by a certain group of people. A good number of us were abducted, the staff and students as well. She said in the emotional appeal, the woman called on the federal government, the Oyo State government, and the Christian Association of Nigeria and other well-meaning Nigerians to intervene and secure their release. We have been here, this is her own words, she said, we have been here since Friday. I'm making this video to ask for help from everyone. They should come to our help and settle this thing peacefully so that our lives will not be lost. She also added that another victim identified as Temitope, who was seen in the video carrying a baby, also appealed for urgent intervention. She said, I'm from Ibadan. I'm working at First Baptist Church in Ogbomoso. Yesterday, the people came to our school and we have been kidnapped, both the teachers and the children. Well, let's take a look at that clip.
Yeah, start.
I am Mrs. Alamu, FR. I am the principal of Community High School, Esiele, in Orire local government of Oyo State. On Friday, around 9:30, we were attacked by a certain group of people, and a good number of us were abducted, the staff and the students as well. And we have been here since Friday. I am making this video to ask for help from everyone, starting from the federal government of Nigeria and Oyo State government, Engineer Seyi Makinde, the Christian Association of Nigeria, and all well-meaning Nigerians, that they should come to our
Oh, well, that's so sad. There is another video where, a young lady carrying a baby on her back, that's her baby actually, was pleading for help too. And, it's really heartbreaking that we get to see this happening all the time. And no one is even talking about it. Although this one, we've seen the governor, Seyi Makinde, come out to say, okay, we are going to go after just our doctors and we don't have any time to negotiate and all of that. We've seen the president also on this issue, but how much are we putting into it and how many more lives will be lost? Because we also heard that a teacher was beheaded by these same people, these bandits in quotes. How many lives will be lost? I just feel like this thing is becoming lucrative. So anyone can just wake up one day and feel like, I want to make money. The only way I can make money is to go and kidnap because nobody's coming after me. How much is the government putting into making sure that they get these kidnappers and also or bandits and let the right punishments? I don't want to hear we are bringing them back into the society. Okay, we are just going to punish them for some time. That's not the punishment for people who carry out criminal activities like this. So how long are we going to wait for it? All right, let's take some comments from social media as regards to this topic. And the first comment here is coming from the real Oyoyemi. And Oyoyemi says, did anyone notice the voice that asked the woman to start speaking? Or it's me? It doesn't sound like Northerner. It doesn't sound like a Northerner voice, all right? Okay, the accent actually sold that person away, honestly. The next comment is coming from Sherry Coco. And Sherry Coco says, so you're telling me that these people can't be tracked down? It's sad. It's a sad one because you can see the emoji there. Are you saying that we cannot? Because we keep hearing it. It's happening everywhere right now. Before we used to think it's just the north. But right now it's in the south, everywhere. So everyone is affected. It's something that everybody needs to put all hands on deck to make sure that we fight this insecurity. Because you can't even tell. Your neighbor can actually be the person who is after your life. Your friend, your church member, anybody can actually be the person who is after your life. So this is not just about Fulani headsmen. It's not just about northern bandits. This one is your locality. That person's voice actually sold him away. Well, the next, which is the last comment for today, is coming from Aguyi Ronsi. And Aguyi says, in the name of anything you worship, please go and get your PVC now. Save our beloved country and fight for your future and the future of the next generation. Thank you so much, Aguyi, for that advice. Of course, everyone is getting their PVC ready for 2027 election. Well, I'm not alone this morning in the studio. I have with me Uyi Agumofwebe. Good morning, Uyi.
Good morning, Ogochukwu. Well, Ramsey lifted our spirits a while ago, but you are here again to sag it. What do I say to you?
It's not my fault. I think this is our everyday reality right now in Nigeria. This moment you are, flipping through different pages and you see something that, lifts your spirit and you're so happy. And the next page you're seeing on social media is something that is making you regret why you're Nigerian. Honestly, I've seen so many videos and I'm asking myself, why did my parents even give birth to me in this country? Why didn't they make enough money to take me outside this country? Like, so many regrets. I love Nigeria so much, but so many things are happening and it looks like no one is even attending to those issues. We have seen primaries and everyone is about election right now in 2026. But what about insecurity? Because if there is no security, then how can we have a very smooth election in Nigeria? How is the Northern coming out in different villages, coming out to vote? How will be the situation of those in creeks, in villages? Because these people, I think the people that are more affected or mostly affected are people usually in the village, like, these outskirts of the town. Even in the town right now, there are doctors and everything. So how do people come out to really vote for who they want without being scared if something is going to happen the next minute? It's becoming too much. I don't know if you listen to that, video clip that we just played right now. You could hear just before they started the video, the man said, Oya, start. And I was like, Oya, start. That voice.
The voice, the accent.
The accent is not a Fulani herdsman accent. It's not a northerner. That's what I would say. It's not a northerner. That voice, that accent is purely someone from the West. So now our brothers kidnap us. Your sister is the one kidnapping you. So no one should even think far. No one should just place the thing on, is a northerner, is a Fulani herdsman, is a this. No, it's not just that. We've seen Igbo people kidnap Igbo brother. They are Igbo brothers. We've seen a Yoruba man kidnapping a Yoruba man. We've seen a Hausa man kidnapping a Hausa man. So it's not so. How do we even solve this issue? How do we tell the president that right now what we need is not just election? We understand that, yes, we have to elect someone, but what we need right now is not just election. What we need right now is security in our country. How do we put that to the government? How do they listen to us?
I don't know how the government listens, really. I don't know that in 2 lifetimes. I think my question is, does the government listen? And then the second is, what does the government listen to? It's very important, because when you hear the government talk about the fight against insecurity and the results we are recording, you'll be wondering, is it still about Nigeria or a different country altogether, right? But if we narrow down again back to this issue in Oyo, what I realize is that the police authorities believe they are local collaborators. Of course, that's also the position of the federal government. As a matter of fact, we are now understanding that a few persons have been taken into custody because they are suspects in this instant case, right? You see, kidnapping has grown, so to speak, astronomically, right? In fact, some people say in geometric proportion. Again, it depends on how good you are at math. But more importantly is the fact that we saw this steady, significant, if you like, drastic rise once kidnapping became monetized or commercialized. In fact, Ogochukwu, if you look at the numbers in terms of how much Nigerians, I'm talking about communities, individuals, and families, spend by way of ransom payments in cases of kidnap, you'll be shocked. Some countries do not even have that money in Africa, right? So it has now become a sector, or if you like, an industry of some kind. That's what it is. So that's why you realize that it's prevalent everywhere across the country. When it was happening in the north, to say, well, it's because of Boko Haram, it's because of the bandits, it's because of ISWAP and what have you. In the Niger Delta, especially in places like Edo, Delta, Rivers, and Bayelsa, we say, well, it's south-south. Violence of this kind is something that's not a surprise around there. But what do you say when you hear it happen in Ekiti, in Ogun, in Oyo? All right, so you're not asking yourself. Of course, we have seen it happen in Lagos time and again. As a matter of fact, the case of Evans, the kidnapper, had so much of foothold in Lagos State. All right, so as it stands today, the federal government is giving off the vibe, as we call it, which is an impression that it is overwhelmed. Otherwise, how is it that every time we see a case like this, one of the things the government would say, especially from the presidency angle, is we are on top of the situation. We are working on rolling out states police.
Overwhelming? I don't want to even see it as, sorry, but I don't want to see it as overwhelming. I just want to see it as we don't really care. We are just after the 2027
election.
Because that's what we see in the news. That's what we see everywhere. That's what we see. Everyone is fighting towards 2027 election. We want to win the election. Want to win the election.
While the country is bleeding.
Yes. So it's more like we are not overwhelmed. We know what's going on. We have every power to fight this. But for now, can we just keep that on hold while we fight for this? So it's more like, this pocket infrastructure and all of that. That's what I'm seeing right now.
Has it moved to the pocket? I thought we were still in the stomach the other time.
Right now it's in the pocket. It's no longer in the, I think the last time we had this stomach infrastructure was I think during Goodluck Jonathan. Yes. That was stomach. Everyone was just trying to feed
stomach has been taken care of.
Right now, it is in the pocket. So that's what is happening. Honestly, I don't want to look at it as the government is overwhelmed, because come on, what's our security? Why do we have military? Why do we have the police? Why do we have these people in place? We have so much of them. Why do we have these people in place? So they just need the right ammunitions. They just need the command and everything, and everyone go try to fight and make sure that they bring back peace into the country. Every day we hear just killing. You hear killing in Benue. Thank God. I think that of Benue has subsided a bit. I don't really get to hear that of Benue. But right now, in the West, we've seen Kwara State. There was a video I saw 2 weeks ago, and a man was trying to make a video. He was making a video of a particular community, and no one was in that community. As big as the community. He made that video. That video lasted for at least 10 minutes, and there was no soul. They've all ran to another place, just to make sure that they ran for safety. So we've seen that happen in Kwara State. We have seen it in Ekiti. Now in Oyo, as big as Oyo, Ibadan. We are seeing things like this. Children, pupils are being kidnapped from school. It's too much. I don't even know where to run to.
Once the president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, said, look, after the election, insecurity issue will become a thing of the past.
Why after the election?
He raised suspicion when he said that. And for many people, it was as if he spoke the mind of the federal government, because nobody from the presidency, because if that had come from maybe someone from the opposition, there's a pretty good chance by now the presidency would have officially responded to it.
Yes.
But nobody has come out to debunk that. Not even Mr. Akpabio himself, the number 3 man of the country, so to say, has come out to say, I want to provide context so Nigerians don't, as it were, misconstrue the import or meaning of what I said. But again, it just is descriptive of the bad place that the country is in.
So that means what he's trying to say is that kidnapping is more like a tool.
Well, maybe he's trying to say that insecurity overall, whether kidnapping or insurgency or banditry, goes hand in hand with the election cycle. Right. Yes, that's the point.
Okay. This is Tuesday morning. I wouldn't want to go further, honestly, at this point. But anyways, thank you so much, Uyi, for your contribution so far on this topic. It's my pleasure always having you on the show. All right, this is the side of our conversation here on Social Buzz on Global Morning. I am Margaret Kumobuna, and I'll be leaving in the hands of Priscilla and Uyi as they usher us into the discussion section of Global Morning. So stay with us. Good morning once again, Nigeria and viewers around the world. Bye for now.
When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And the issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
for the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Thank you for joining us. Satellite imagery this evening shows active storm system developing along the eastern flank of the country, and these are expected to drift westward by Tuesday morning, bringing rainfall and thunderstorms to parts of the central and the southern half of the country. In the early hours of the day, there are also chances of morning thunderstorms over southern parts of Yobe, Jigawa, Taraba, and Adamawa states. As we move into the afternoon and evening period, increased moisture and atmospheric energy are expected to enhance more thunderstorms activities. Areas likely to be affected include parts of the northeast, Sokoto, Kebbi, some parts of the north-central region, and several locations around the southern half of the country. Residents in affected areas are advised to stay alert for strong winds, heavy rainfall, and possible localized flooding. That's your weather update. Stay safe, and thank you for joining us.
At Aerogym Shoe Factory, excellence starts from the ground up. Located at number 1 Pound Road behind Nigeria Correctional Service, Aba, Abia State. We produce 1,500 high-quality shoes every single day. Paramilitary shoes, safety boots, desert boots, ankle shoes, back-to-school footwear. All crafted with state-of-the-art equipment and built for strength, comfort, and durability. For reliable footwear that stands the test of time, choose Aerogym Shoes for better product, strong steps, smart style. For inquiries, call 091-264-53399 or 070-3009-3944 or 080-6573-8374 or call 081-3167-3668. Email info@aerogym.com. Website www.aerogymdesign.com. Aerogym. Walk with confidence. Walk with pride.
All right, let's get our conversation on the road for you, everyone. We've seen a couple of political parties begin their, if you like, internal democratic process. That's to say, they've started their primaries to determine who goes where, right from the grassroots House of Assembly all the way to the presidency. For many of these parties, as always, the events or this process is split into a couple of days. However, in the middle of all this, we're seeing how, in the case of the APC in particular, there has been so much conflict, there has been chaos. We've also seen division, especially as it has to do with who emerged, how they emerged, and what the implications are for the party, whether at the sub-national or the national level. This morning, we're joined by a staunch member of the party, who is also very, very conversant with all of these developments as it has to do with the 2027 general election. Ahmed Mahmoudou is breaking his sleep all the way from Houston, Texas, United States this morning to join us here on the program. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Mahmoud, for taking out time to join us on the program.
My regards to your viewers and everybody at home watching the show. Thank you for having me on.
Okay, so my assumption is you can hear us, but let's go ahead and just begin from the very start of it, right? It's been a long time coming. Incidentally, these primary elections, which your party started just a few days ago, have become more like a litmus test for the APC, which is the ruling party. What would you say is your candid assessment of the process?
Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, Uyi. Hello?
Yes, well, can you kindly confirm that you can hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, what would you say is your candid assessment of the primaries being conducted by your party, the All Progressives Congress?
Okay, again, thank you, Uyi, for having me on the show. So what has happened is that based on the new electoral law that was recently signed in, the parties have been mandated to have either consensus candidacy to choose their candidates, or as it were in the past, they used to have delegate primaries, but that has been outlawed currently. So all now they're allowed to do right now is a direct primaries where all members of the party are invited to come and register their votes and choose their candidate for the election. So your question is, what do I think about what has happened? Well, because of the novelty of the process so far, we've seen a few flashpoints, we've seen a few disorganized activities here and there, but by and large, I think the will of the people has really come through. It's something that is being tested nationwide, not just in the APC, but in all political parties. So you have the candidates' popularities being tested directly by the electorate, not just by a few selected members of the party. And so what this is going to augur well for us is it's going to keep on improving the quality of the candidates and their popularity going into the elections. So you don't have candidates that are just imposed by a few people that will come out to the general elections and are not able to perform properly. I think it's a good thing generally. I think we've seen a few places where corrections can be made, but by and large, it's been a good outing.
Is it fair? Is it realistic? Is it correct or factual to say it is the novelty, to use your word now, of this process that is responsible or that has given occasion to this sort of, if you like, strife and controversy and discourse I've seen in the party? I'll create a quick perspective. If you go to Edo State, your home state, my home state, for example, look at what's happening with the Edo South senatorial tickets. Yesterday, for instance, a very notable newspaper reported that Pastor Sagi Ezeyamu had clenched that ticket. Side by side, other papers conversely said no, it was Bede Iyama, a former two-time member of the House of Representatives, who had won that ticket. Can we blame all of that on novelty?
So the case of Edo State that you highlighted is an interesting one. I think what has happened is there's been, I don't want to say a breakdown of communication, but that is what it appears to be on the surface. Like you rightly pointed out, there have been, imagine, contradicting results from both sides, claiming victory. But I want to go back to some of the issues that played out before the primaries itself. We had a situation where it is alleged, because none of this is confirmed, it's alleged that the governor stood behind the candidacy of Bede Iyama, and then Pastor Sagi Ezeyamu decided that he was going to run regardless. There was no agreement as to a consensus candidate. So all of the participants, including the sitting senator, was invited to come and partake in the primary elections. Now, after the primary elections, we've been having conflicting results coming out from everybody. Before the elections, Pastor Sagi Ezeyamu came out and said that there was a party process, there were party officers, and there were party guidelines as well as paperwork to record the results of the primary elections, from which the winners will be announced. And there was supposed to be an officer directed by the party to conduct this and announce the results accordingly. From what we've been able to gather, it was this officer who announced Pastor Osagie Ezeyamu as the winner of the primary elections. But the conflicting issues have been coming out from different parts, claiming different numbers and claiming success in every part except for the sitting senator. So I want to see the party come out strongly and clearly define what has happened in that situation and why it has gone awry. It's entirely unacceptable that so many people were involved and some clarity is not been able to achieve even at the conclusion of that process. So it's quite disturbing, to be honest.
Priscilla is going to ask a few questions on the course of this engagement, but given the analysis you just did, I mean, quite brilliant, by the way, is that not indicative that governors, again, have either hijacked the process or, if you like, taking charge of it, whatever works for you? Because as it stands right now, there are people who believe, quite frankly, that Pastor Osagie Ezeyamu was not just pivotal to the emergence of Senator Monday Okpebholo as governor of Edo State in 2024, that he headed, or if you like, he spearheaded the move to say, look, this gentleman has got to be our candidate in the APC. So if that was the case, how then do you, a man like Pastor Osagie Ezeyamu, who is a founding member of the APC, a leader of the party in the South at a point, all right, be relegated to the background as against a gentleman like Obedi Ihama, who joined the party figuratively just yesterday?
So as to the recent joining of the party, I don't think that is really an issue. So let's put that aside, because if we want to put that for the Obedi Ihama, it's also applied to Pastor Osagie Ezeyamu when he contested the last time. He had recently joined the party and was given the party ticket to contest as the governor of Edo State, an election which he unfortunately lost. But going back to what you pointed out, yes, there seems to have been quite a cleavage that has developed as a response to this ambition of Pastor Osagie Ezeyamu to run for the Senate. It beats some of our understanding because, like you also rightly pointed out, Pastor Osagie Ezeyamu was a spearhead to the emergence of current Governor Monday Okpebholo. And so we find that some of these stories don't seem to be adding up. There's allegedly the Wike factor on the other side of Obedi Ihama, who is interested in somehow pushing a candidate who recently came into the party, recently a PDP member, as the senator for Edo South. There's the candidacy of Pastor Osagie Ezeyamu, who seems to represent the popular voice of the people. And then there's also the sitting senator, who seems to have been completely marginalized in all of this process. So the surprising part, like you also pointed out, is if Pastor Osagie Ezeyamu was so instrumental in the emergence of Governor Okpebholo, why is there this pushback? This is something that everybody has been struggling to come through. But if we look at the day and then try and picture what has happened from the dawn, it appears that yes, there is some kind of cleavage there, because recently, not just members of the administration, but I want to say aides to the governor came out and then they impugned on the character of Pastor Osagie Ezeyamu. Apart from that, we also saw some of his aides come out and say, even if they just implied it, that the governor was behind a different candidate. And there was also the issue about 2 or 3 months ago, where the state chairman also seemed to have made reference to Pastor Osagie Ezeyamu when he said that the ticket is only for candidates who will win elections. So there's been a lot of murkiness around all of this. But I think in the next few days, we are bound to find, we are We are hopeful that we'll find some clarity on the issue, and then the actual candidate of the APC is going to come out. Because if this is allowed to continue going into the general election, there's going to be a lot of breakdown of law and order within the party ranks, and it's not going to augur well for the party in Edo State.
Thank you very much, sir. When you started, you mentioned that, maybe I'll just paraphrase, I mean, the process, according to you, is going on well, but there are a few lapses. I would really like you to highlight some of those lapses that you already observe.
Okay, going from what we said, which is a very valid point, we've had a lot of instances where not just the governors seem to have an overbearing influence in the process, but I think this is something that we've seen in our democracy, where the subnational leaders, the state governors, seem to always have an overbearing influence in some parts of these processes. This has happened particularly in states like Edo and Ondo, where the states, the governors themselves are not up for election concurrently with other elected officials in the State's House of Assembly and the federal legislature, etc., etc. So it seems as if the governors have enough time in their hands to be able to model and then meddle into these affairs. This has caused some kind of cleavage that we've seen in the extant case of Edo State, for example, and a few of the other northern states where the governors seem to have an exceedingly overbearing influence in the candidature of the people that want to run. I think as a fallout of the removal of the delegate process, the delegate primaries, we now have an open field where the governors are able to easily exert their control over larger populations of people. When it was a delegate primary, you will have delegates who came from different blocks within the party structure. So for example, if we use Edo State as an example, if there had been a delegate primary, there would definitely be delegates who owe their allegiance to somebody like Pastor Sagi Ezeyamu, some who owe their allegiance to the governor, and some who owe their allegiance to the sitting senator. But where you have a larger pool of people that will determine who the candidates are, you have an outsized influence of the governors in some of these primaries. Then you have issues that brought about how the candidates are emerged, for example, also. You've had failed consensus arrangements where the governors or members of the party who have outsized influence decide on a consensus candidature instead of direct primaries. Where this fails, you now have members of the party who wanted to partake in these processes, and then they find that their ambition has been stymied either by the governor's side or by party members outside in Abuja, etc., etc. So you have that failed consensus, and then you have people who had pretty much built their own political machinery around the direct primaries. So they are at a bit of a loss right now. When you had direct primaries, that was the delegate primaries, you had a smaller pool of people. Say, for example, direct primaries, you have members of 100 or 200 people who would decide who the candidate was. But in the current practice that we have, the open primaries, you have as many as 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. In the case of Edo State, we have numbers of 30,000 on one side, 15,000 on the other side. So you see, it's a larger pool. It's a larger number of people. It's more difficult to exert outside influence, and it's a little more difficult to put financial inducement into the case. So those are some of the things. And then we have not just violence in some of these instances. There have been reported cases of violence where aggrieved party members who either lost out in the consensus talk or who felt that they should have been brought to the primaries at a higher level, or they didn't like the results. Those have induced violence in some instances. And then there's the irregularity, a few of which were mentioned going into the process, where some of the candidates said they were not satisfied with the preparations that the APC had made. I'm using the APC as an example for the rest of the parties. For the preparations that had been made from the party headquarters in the collation reporting and then the finalization of the results. We had candidates who came out and said it was done, the previous primaries for the State House of Assembly, for example, had been done in such a haphazard manner and the reporting was so unreliable that it was almost making a farce of the whole situation. So we hope that going forward, the parties will come out and say, this is the process, these are the recording mechanisms, and this is the reporting and the conclusion, XYZ, this is how it has to go going forward. Like I originally said, it is a novel approach, so there's a lot of corrections that has to be done here and there. Also, we must not remiss to point out that a lot of incumbents seem to have lost their own seats. So we have so many current sitting members of the House of Representatives and senators who seem to have lost out completely to this exercise. Some lost out to their state governors, some lost out to the power blocks within the party, some lost out to external factors. But by and large, these are all of the issues that seem to have emerged from the process so far. And I still rate it as decent. There will be a lot of hitches here and there, but by and large, I think it's been a good outing.
So in a country like Nigeria, sometimes we're known to be more reactive than proactive. When INEC decided to, present this electoral act with, the open primaries, as you mentioned, a novelty or novel approach, as you say, do you think they didn't put the best of structures required to make it successful enough? Because if you keep learning and growing and learning from mistakes, of course people will be hurt in the process. So do you think INEC would have done better, to create better structures beforehand, before implementing this electoral act?
Oh yes, certainly. I mean, whatever structure it is that you have human involvement, there will always be places where improvements can be made. But I think what INEC did, kind of like to avoid undue influence, because the courts have been very strict about INEC's ability to influence either the decision of the parties or their candidature or even the processes of the party. So INEC kind of had to step back and allow the parties to be the ones that will determine the processes for all of these primaries going forward. And I think that has been a little bit of a mistake, because there has been some opacity in the processes, which has led to some of these conflicts that we're talking about. So going forward, I do think that, and you are correct in that regard, INEC needs to come out and be clear as to the standards that are acceptable, the reporting standards that must be put in place to allow free, fair elections and to allow the conclusion to be seen to be the will of the people, not just in the practice, but also in the implementation, so that at the end of the day, because looking forward, like you pointed out, there's going to be possibly a lot of litigation coming out of this because of the novelty of it. So there needs to be some kind of framework that determines A, B, C, and D, and then we know what the conclusion is without any of this chaos that seems to be generated around the process.
Assessing the primaries so far, one of the things I really noticed is it's almost looking as if it's, a gubernatorial elections or even a presidential elections. We're seeing cases of old women. We've seen videos of women, mostly women, and of course aged women on the queue. And when I come across such videos, I'm wondering, are these also party members, or are they people that were just walked to and given some sort of information to come join the queue? We've also seen videos where, the person in charge is counting and missing numbers, I was actually wondering, when I saw such video, I was wondering if it's a registration number or a number tag that was given, where it appears as though it was the number of votes that were being counted. So all of this raises concern. I don't know your opinion on it.
So to clarify some of the issues here, as a politician, one of our strongholds will always be women, because women are always better at organizing. Women are always more reliable when it comes to following instructions. Women are definitely better at handling themselves as groups. So you find, like you pointed out, that women seem to coalesce around themselves better. So you have these older women. Older women are, even if women are reliable, the older women are twice as reliable, because being that they have not that much to do, they are easy to coerce, they are easy to convince to come out and cast their votes and then explore their civic responsibility, so to say. So that goes for that. As to the counting process, we've said it several times here that the process seems to be fraught with not just ad hoc decisions, but also ad hoc implementation. So we see people who are counting arbitrarily, we see people who are counting and numbering and receiving the results. It seems that is where the issue of parallel congresses seems to have arisen. So why is this happening? I think INEC needs to step in, like we said earlier, and regularize the areas that these congresses can be held, because it was left entirely to the whims and caprices of the party. They could have said it was in a stadium. They could have said it was in somebody's residence. It could have been in a hotel. These are just examples because there was no formal arrangement as to where these things could be conducted. It's supposed to have been conducted in the wards and the units and etc., etc. But if there were parallel congresses, they could not have been happening side by side. So the issue of the location of this thing is paramount and needs to be addressed. How the results is going to be collated, that needs to be addressed. Who has the responsibility to announce the results? All of these need to be addressed going forward.
Are you clearly saying that these women are party members?
So yes, in the instance of APC, there was recently not just a re-registration exercise, there was also an updating of the voters register, which spanned a period of, I want to say, about 3, 4, 5, or 6 months. So there has been an update of the voters registers. The assumption is that anybody that takes part in the direct primaries is a member of the party, a bona fide card-carrying member of the party. At some point in time, they'll be required not just to show whatever it is that makes them, identifies them as card-carrying members, but the party is required to be able to put the membership roll, which after this is going to, which has already been, is supposed to have been submitted to INEC. So going with whatever identity documents they came with, and the membership rule, everybody you see partaking in direct primaries is supposed to be a bona fide member of the political party. That's the assumption, yes.
In a case where you have to convince someone or cajole someone to come and become a party member, I thought there's supposed to be some sort of conviction. I don't know, I've don't mess with these women, I haven't interviewed them, I haven't investigated. But I can be quite sure that you approach maybe some of those women and some of them might not even know why they are there. Yes, they could have been registered because the party had done some sort of registration process, knowing fully well that there's going to be an open primaries. But I believe that we need to create a system, there needs to be so much sincerity in our electoral processes. Sincerity in the sense that people that are coming out or are going to be part of whatever primaries should be checked. INEC needs to find a way to make sure that there is so much transparency. You can't cajole people or put their names basically because you want them to be a member. I'm not saying that that's the case. But let's talk about aggrieved members of this, the APC. We all know that some of the seats that have been won so far by this in the primaries are members or people that probably defected at some point, leaving out loyalists of that party. It's quite shocking. The reaction, the result so far has been a bit of a shock to Nigerian politicians. And just even before the primaries, we had some members openly defect and say, I'd rather be partyless, than be the party, because I know that I'm not sure of clinching the form of the party. I can't go and waste my money, get a form, and at the end of the day, priority is given to defectees or defectors, depending on how you want to call it. But what would you say about that process? I know that there's strategy, the ruling party they can do to make sure it comes back to 2027. And part of the strategy could be, okay, let us give upper hand to the defectors, knowing that they might have the advantage of the grassroots and all of that. But is this really a fair process? If internally we're already having this sort of aggravation amongst party members, what will happen general elections, with the ordinary Nigerian?
So it is true that, yes, there has been a lot of defections. It is also true that there are a lot of aggrieved party members who seem who have taken the view that people who recently joined the party shouldn't be allowed to jump to the beginning, to the top of the queue. But you see, with politics, it's a little bit different because there's the assumption of numbers. There's the assumption that we want as many people as possible to come and join the party. So, for example, you are not going to say a sitting governor joins your party, defects to your party, and you will not give him the respect that comes with his position. You are not going to ask a sitting governor who defects to your party to go and join the queue from the back. That's not going to happen, the reality of real politics. So what happens in the case of defections is there's a party structure, there's a hierarchical structure where if somebody is currently in office and he's, for example, as a governor or is a senator, it's assumed that when he joins the party, he joins at that level. So you cannot say because he's recently joined, he's not qualified to run. If a former member of the House of Representatives defects to your party, he's taken as a current member of the House of Representatives and given the respect and the rights due to such a person. Now, this also brings in some kind of bad blood within the party system, no doubt. But it has to be understood that sometimes the internal arrangements, they do favor people who come in first because they were coerced, they were.
Let's take a quick break at this point. We will continue this conversation with you shortly. Please just hang in there for us. Thank you. All right. I know, Mahmoud, you were making a very salient point a while ago about all of these dynamics within political parties. One of the points that stuck out for me while you were talking was when you mentioned how that, you gave an example, that if a member of the House of Representatives moves to your party, or maybe that also applies to other parties, he is regarded in that capacity as against someone who just joined from scratch. However, you also didn't fail to mention that that reality has a way of, again, creating bad blood within the ranks of the party. But I want to ask you something else that is very, very salient, right? Again, it has to do with Edo State. Even though I know we are seeing more than a pocket of disagreements, conflicts within these last few days regarding the primaries in your party, right? In the case of Edo State, for instance, I want to situate it in a way that there's perspective. We understand that Nyesom Wike, the minister of the FCT, former governor of Rivers State, has some kind of interest in Ogbede Ihama, the man we are now hearing actually won the Edo South senatorial ticket, right? And then you're wondering, what could that interest be? And to think that whatever that interest is also aligns with the position of the governor, Senator Monday Okpebholo, sparks curiosity. On the side of Governor Okpebholo, there are people who say, even within the APC, that he is scared that if Pastor Sagi Ize-Iyamu finds his way to the Senate, he might become a political threat to him now or in future, especially as it has to do with his re-election in 2028. As a party man and someone who cares about the future of the APC beyond 2027, share your thoughts in this regard.
So this is a very slippery slope, I find, but I'm going to prefix it with the wise words of Governor Fashola at the time. May your loyalty never be tested. Those were his words, and those are golden words in politics. So let me give you an illustration of what I'm saying. I saw a colleague of mine who was recently appointed a special advisor by the governor, and he was actually nominated to that position by Pastor Osagie Eze-Iyamu, only for him to be campaigning against the candidature of Pastor Osagie Eze-Iyamu. And it was quite shocking to me because I find such politics to be a little bit underhand, because I felt in a situation like that, if I were put in that situation, I would have simply been silent and not done anything, at least not brought myself out to public. But to answer the question that you are saying, what exactly is going on behind closed doors? Why is it seeming that Minister Wike has so much interest in Edo politics? You see, some of these things are the long game, as we call them, and then it's difficult to actually discern without making allegations as to a relationship that you are not sure about. But one thing is clear, is that the governor is on one side of the ticket, Pastor Osagie Eze-Iyamu is on another side, and Obede Ehiama is on another side. So what is it that is the interest? Beyond the politics of today, there has to be something that they are looking at further down the road. We saw an example of what may play out in the future when at the Senate, the Senate President Akpabio tried to amend the Senate rules to exclude newcomers from participating in leadership positions in the upcoming Senate. And this was strongly resisted by our own senator representing Edo North, Governor Comrade Adams Oshomole. And what was it about? They were trying to restrict access to the leadership positions in the Senate for the upcoming senators by increasing the number, by restricting the qualification criteria for the leadership positions. What does this mean? It definitely means that as we come into the new Senate, there is going to be another power play. Because at the time of the composition of the current Senate, there were very few members of the APC who were eligible to be Senate president, etc., etc. Coming into the new Senate, there are definitely going to be a lot more APC members who will be eligible. There is going to be the senator from Edo North, the senator from Edo Central, and the senator from Edo South. If that is the calculation, then we can see a situation where Wike is interested in who becomes the Senate president, because if these people are going to be part of that calculation, then there has to be interest in how it plays out. Some people are speculating that the senator representing Edo North, Comrade Adams Oshomole, is interested in that position. It is conceivable that Pastor Osagie Eze-Iyamu, if he is the one that is chosen as the senator representing Edo South, is also going to be interested in that position, even though he's a first-timer. How is it possible? Because first-timers have been used in that position. Akpabio himself was a first-timer when he was made a principal officer of the previous Senate before this one. So there's a lot of balls in motion. There's a lot of activity going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of calculations going on. What is clear is that there are different aspects, different interests, and different ambitions being pursued. What is a bit unclear at this point in time is why there's so much interest, but we keep trying to find out what is going on without bringing heresy into it. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Okay, so let's just do a little comparison. If we were to compare our electoral process, what we have so far, and what we had in 2023, what would be your true review? What would be your assessment? And however you want to assess it, do you think we've made progress? If you say yes, what is that game changer? What was that thing that was running the system that you say added to what has given you, us a better result? If that is your answer.
Okay, so if we want to give some kind of reasonable analysis of where we are now, we have to go back to where we started from. I think where we started from 1999, any independent and reasonable observer would definitely say that we've come a long way. We are talking about almost 25, 26 years of practicing this democracy, making adjustments as we go along, allowing people to bring the input. The laws have been changed. And by and large, I think the journey, even though it has been fraught with a lot of confusion, a lot of strife, and a lot of miscalculations, we have been making steady and good progress in the path of democratic governance. And why do I say this? The question you asked is, what is one of the game changers? I think one of the game changers is the introduction of the BVAS by INEC into the electoral process. So what it does is allows we're able to know exactly who it is that is voting, when they vote, and where they cast their vote. Now, if you permit me to go back in time a little bit, you will look and see that in 1999, when we were having elections, they were simply manufacturing votes, and then they were simply calling out numbers for their favorite candidates, rigging the elections, etc., etc. As of today, it is quite rightly understood by most political actors that you cannot easily rig an election anymore. You can, however, induce voters. So the emphasis has shifted from rigging elections to voter inducement. Some people don't understand what that fine line is, but the fine line has been created by the introduction of that BVAS card. Now, the person that is going to rig must be physically present for you to induce them to vote for you. In the past, you could just put 5,000 people and put 5,000 numbers, and that will be the end of that. But that is completely impossible at this point in time. You have to prove those 5,000 people. You have to show their voter's card. You have to show their registration. You have to show where they voted, etc., etc. So in the conglomeration of not just the legal side of it, but the political side, and then you have issues like where the INEC has come out and said there is zero tolerance for any form of malpractice at the polling units. What this has done is allow the politicians to bring a little more calmness, where there used to be hot heads who could just come and snatch a ballot box and run away, and then the result will still be announced. That is not allowed anymore. Any politician that is unable to provide his vote count in his polling unit and in his area is considered a failure by this standard. So you now have the politicians actively asking their own members not to indulge in any form of violence at the polling stations. Bringing that down to how it affects the direct primaries that we've witnessed, we need to see a confluence of the rules and regulations that INEC has been able to put into place in our general elections come into play when it comes to the party primaries. And this needs to be just as clear, just as transparent, and just as reliable, so that when people come and vote, they are confident that their votes are counted and it is the results that is announced.
Yes, you care about your party, you want your party to do well, you want your party to progress and scale. But with all of this happening right now, first of all, we saw a deluge of governors defecting into your party. We saw that members of the National Assembly, both Senate and House of Reps, move into your party. And across board, most of them come with their base. And some people say, well, the height of it was even the governor of Kano State who moved into the APC. When you look at that sort of unprecedented influx of high-ranking politicians into a ruling party, plus the conflict we are now witnessing on account of the primaries conducted by your party, do you see the chance of a conflagration or some sort of implosion within the APC?
So there is always the chance, in fairness, there's always the chance of implosion, as you put it, in any political party, be it the APC, the PDP, or whatever. We have the benefit, however, of the hindsight in the APC to see where it is that some of the parties, in particular to mention the PDP, how they mishandled their own success and how it led to the current state of affairs that it has today. So one of the primary causes of this implosion is not just indiscipline, it is a lack of adherence to the rules. You mentioned quite rightly that there has been an influx of different politicians into the ruling party. That is not a coincidence. That is something that is a result of the, how should we say, let's say the confusion that is reigning, not just in the political space right now, as a result of all of the uncertainty about the factions existing in the other parties. At this point, we'll be remiss not to mention that there are well over 20 political parties. So the assumption that the APC is somehow the only party that is the choice, no, that's not true. You've seen some elements of the opposition move to the NDC. You've seen elements of the opposition move to the ADC. So there's choice. But what is happening is that the people that come to the APC come because they know that there's a structure that is dependable. They know that it has a wide reach, and it is also the ruling party. Whether you like it or not, politics is about not just engagement, but it's about enlightened self-interest. So where do you move to? You move to places where your interest is accommodated, and then you can get things done as quickly as possible. If the governor of a state is in the same party as the president, he's more likely to be able to draw the attention of the president to wherever he needs collaboration between the state and the federal government. And the same thing will happen if they are in collaboration with the National Assembly. So it is the synergy of development that we are seeing. I do believe that people see it somehow as a bad thing that people are rushing into the ruling party, but I don't see it that way. I think as long as people's voices count and the people who represent them are the people they choose, we will see development across board. And if they mismanage that success, the way other political parties have done, the PDP, for example, then you will see an implosion, and to rightly be so. Because I, for one, do not believe in any single party. I believe that a multi-party democracy is the best way to develop Nigeria, not just because it allows the opposing view, but it allows people to express themselves in a different way. We cannot all have one voice. We cannot all have one saying. We should be able to sit down and say, I agree with you on this point, and in this I disagree, and I think this is a better way to handle it. So by and large, we are seeing the growth and development of a democratic process, democratic ethos. Is just 25 years. America is 250 years, and still they were able to elect somebody who has a criminal record. So we may be going slow, we may be making a lot of mistakes along the way, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
So talking about America and the person elected, in your words, has a criminal record. We have the likes of, I'm not saying he does have a criminal record, but Yahaya Bello was also given the ticket of, the APC.
Yes, in Kogi Central.
Kogi Central. And we know that he has had his thing with the EFCC for a while. It has not been resolved up till now. We've not seen anyone come out to tell us this guy has been cleared of all the allegations and charges. Yet, he's clinging the ticket of Kogi Central. I mean, when we see people like this of clear, questionable character, because for him to have such dealings with the FCC, it indicates that there's something wrong somewhere. When we see people like that, come up as leaders, winners in primaries like this, what does this say about our choices? Is it reflecting the choice of the people? Is there some foul play somewhere? I don't know. Are we supposed to even have such a person
in the first place?
In the first place, I want you to throw light on that.
So the issue of the character of the person is not something that comes up in a political context, unfortunately. And I do agree with you that somebody that has cases to answer should not even be presented to the public as someone that should represent them. Unfortunately, that is not the case applies to the Nigerian context of politics. We mentioned earlier that we have the outside influence of governors in the processes that people who present themselves for public position. We have to stomach it because, unfortunately, we cannot take some parts of the democratic exercise and refuse the other one. And what is the democratic exercise? It is only the law, the judiciary, that can say if this man is actually guilty of the things that he has been accused of or not. And until such a time, he's allowed the freedom and expression of every freeborn Nigerian citizen, and that's the situation that we are in. We need to stomach it for now and hope that the people of Kogi State will come out and say, either through their ballots, this is the character that we want to represent us, or to repudiate him and ask him to go and answer questions when these questions come out for reckoning. that's the best that can happen at this point in time, sadly.
This fallout, I mean, well, we know we're not done with the primaries in your party. For example, the presidential is still up ahead. But so far, from what we have seen, being indicative of what is most likely going to happen, how do you see the APC going into the election in 2027?
So to be honest with you, I think we have, I'm going to grade us as, I want to say 70%. And the 30% is not because the opposition is not fighting hard enough. But I do believe that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done a lot to bring the country onto a stable keel, to allow the country to be able to move ahead with not just financial, economic, but also planning its own progress. We do understand that there have been a lot of challenges. There's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of unrest. People are unhappy, not just with the political system, with the politicians, but with the economic situation of the country. But I think that by and large, if you look at the processes, the policies that the administration has put in place, it is to bring the country out of not just we've been more or less a rent-seeking economy for a long time. We've been an economy where we only sell oil and get the proceeds, and that's what is used to fund the country, etc., etc. But the present administration is having to push not just itself, but the subnationals to look inwards and see in areas they can develop and take more control of their own development. Look at the amount of money that comes to the state governments. We are always talking about the federal government, for example. At this point in time, the emphasis should shift from the federal government to the subnational government. We need to be holding our governors accountable and say, there's so much money that is coming in. Where is it being channeled to? What are your priorities? Where is it going to? How do you account for the money? What is the use? How does it benefit the most number of people? There will always be things that will be a bit contentious. There will always be some level of poverty and a lot of disenfranchisement as we go along. But I think we're on the right course to understand that we had come to a point where the nation was suffering because of too much illegalities, the subsidy, for example, and other areas of corruption that had been allowed to get out of hand. And it was time to rein them in. This has been done. Hopefully, we are at the back end. We have seen the back end of some of these policies, and we are coming into the light. And if this administration is allowed to be given a second term, we do not take the electorate for granted. It's a job that is continuous, it's 24 hours. I know the president is working all the time to make sure that the mandate he was given, he executes it properly. And then coming in, he's going to come out and request for a mandate. He's going to present a scorecard. Now it will be up to the Nigerian people to say, yes, we agree with the things that you are presenting, and we are going to give you a second term or not. But at this point in time, we have to believe that Nigerians are behind the ruling party, Nigerians are behind APC, and they believe that we have the best of the interests of the country and the people at heart. That is my own summation of where we are currently.
Let's talk about the atmosphere in Nigeria. There was a recent kidnapping, what do we call it, in Oyo State. And some Nigerians have the opinion that we shouldn't even be talking about primaries in the midst of all of this insecurity. I mean, it's quite a sensitive period for Nigeria. Nigeria is literally bleeding. As of yesterday, one of that victim lost his life. Right. So do you think that opinion is valid?
Allow me to first express my condolences to the family and the states that lost people. I mean, insecurity and the loss of life is something that always leaves a sour taste in the mouth of anybody who values life, and there cannot be any excuse for those kind of lapses. However, we have to understand that in a nation state, there are things that allow us to progress, and this is one of those things. We have to take our losses and kind of measure them against our progresses. If we are saying that because of the insecurity, we are not going to have elections, and then who governs? Are you now going to allow the current tenured elected officials that when their time lapses, what is going to happen? You are going to allow one state of chaos to overrun into another state of chaos, and so on and so forth. So we have to be realistic in some of our expectations. And one of the realities is that there must always be government, there must always be people who will govern, and it is the choice of the people that will ultimately lead to how our society develops. There is insecurity, yes. There is poverty, yes. These are factors that everybody is aware of, and then the administration is doing their best to kind of combat it. We will not allow or, however, tolerate that these incidences will derail our democratic process, because it can be derailed. We must never take any of this for granted. So they must go concurrently. While the security forces are trying to bring down the heat and the temperature of violence and banditry, etc., etc., the state also must look after its institutions, it must look after its inheritance, and it must continue to function for the greater good of everybody.
I asked that question, I mean, the penultimate question, I asked it because I've spoken with a couple of members of your party, some of them quite high-ranking and staunch supporters of the president, the Renewed Hope agenda, and indeed the APC. They say, look, there are people in your party, card-carrying bona fide members, who are some kind of moles or fifth columnists. In fact, one of them told me that, look, there's even a minister in this government who does not support the ideals, the agenda of the president. So he says the APC is also replete with people who do not believe in whatever the party stands for, and as such, those people will work against the party from the inside. And my question to him at that time was, does the president know these people? He says yes. Do you think he would do something about them? He says yes, he would when the time comes. So if you have a party like the APC that has enjoyed so much of momentum the last couple of years, now having to face this kind of reality, what's your assessment?
So you allow me to just inject a little bit of humor. In every 12, there will be a Judas. And I think even Jesus was aware that Judas was there. Judas also serves a purpose. And so, just like you have rightly pointed out, there will always be fifth columnists. There will always be contradicting interests. There will always be pulls in a different direction. But they also serve for the greater good, because I believe that such people will keep not just the president on his toes. They may be the ones that bring the message to him that people are unhappy, people are disgruntled, there's poverty, people are being kidnapped. They may be the ones that are bringing that message to him. Whereas if you have a party where everybody is kowtowing to the whims and caprices of the president, he may never get all these messages. So we have to understand that sometimes these systems allow checks and balances in an uncomfortable or irregular manner. You cannot expect that everybody that comes out and says on your mandate we stand is supporting you. There are some people who are there to sabotage you, and they are operating from inside. How does it augur for the people of Nigeria? We can't say at this point in time, but we do know that dissenting voices bring out the better managerial skills. They bring out a force that allows you to come out and say, this is right, this is wrong, and this we will not accept. It allows you to think, it allows you to recalibrate. It allows you to say, am I doing the best for these people at any point in time? With the force of those people, with the knowledge that they are there, you will also be more deliberative. You will also be more concerned about the outcomes and your policies and how they influence people. So it's not entirely a bad thing. This is neither accepting or refusing that these things exist, but I'm simply saying, from my point of view, it allows for it allows for more development, it allows people to check themselves, and it allows them to understand that they don't have all the answers. Somebody is questioning them, and they need to be up on their game at every point in time.
Let's talk about the rainbow effect, which is the Wike effect in Nigerian politics. I don't know how you see this play now. Some people have clearly said, someone like Wike has said, I support the current president. I'm going to be rooting for him come 2027, despite the fact that he is not a member of the APC. I don't know how you see this, affecting Nigeria's politics come 2027 elections, because we already see it playing out in the primaries. But what do you assess as we approach 2027 general elections?
So interestingly, let me give you my own assessment on a different topic, and then I'll come back to your question. A lot has been said about how Atiku is running for the presidency. In my opinion, Atiku is not running for the presidency of 2027. Atiku is running for the presidency of 2031. That is my opinion. Because at the end of this electoral cycle in 2031, Atiku is going to be the most name-obvious person to run for the presidency when it will be now zoned to the north and it will be unquestioning. What is likely going to play out is the Northerners are going to say, okay, this man has been running for 20 years. It's about time, let's give him. His age may be a factor at that point in time. Who knows? But nobody even knew he was going to run at this point. He's running. Now, as to your question, what is it? How does all of this play out? How does all of this affect? So, in a larger sense, the party is going to give the direction and say, we are moving in this way, and this is how we want things to go. We will need to come all together. When there's conflict, the party is the one that draws everybody back in and says, this is how we need to operate. These are the rules. Everybody needs to be disciplined, and we all need to come together behind whoever is our flag bearer. We are assuming that at this point in time in 2031, in the next election, our flag bearer is still going to be President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We do understand that there will be some internal problems, but I think going into the general election, a lot of all these things are going to be resolved one way or the other. Remember that the federal government is a big elephant. If you are given a little part of it, there is ambassadorships, there are ministerial positions, there are all sorts of intergovernment agency headships and so on and so forth. So there are so many avenues by which people who feel disgruntled coming in may be appealed or may be appealed to and may be settled. You call it settlement, but it is simply them bowing their own ambition to the greater ambition of one person who in turn looks back at them and then rewards them in one way, manner, or form. So I do think that we need to keep on highlighting the good aspects of our democratic process. There has been a lot of change. There has been a lot of conflict, but by and large, it's been peaceful. We've seen a constant reduction in the amount of lives that are taken in the expression of these democratic practices. So we need to encourage the good, highlight the things that we need to change, and keep on educating our people that this is the best way for us. It might not be where we want to be, but it is the road along which we need to travel.
Okay, let's wrap it up now. Last question. Do you think about for a second the political casualties that these primaries, by the time it all end, would have created by way of a baggage for 2027? Because those who will be, as it were, aggrieved are either going to leave the party altogether or remain in the party and work against it. Should the APC be concerned about that, or live in denial and act as if it doesn't matter?
So to answer that question, I'll take you back to this general election that presented this the current members of the executive, the president, etc., etc. Now, it will surprise you. I'm sure you are also aware because you're very politically inclined. The last election presented the highest rate of turnover of elected officials who were unable to return to their seats. I think we had the governors, if memory serves correctly, we had governors in 20 who could not influence the outcome of the elections. We had governors, 8 who could not make it to the Senate, which was entirely unheard of previously. We had, not just that, we had a president who won the election without winning his own state of origin. So I think we do place some emphasis on losing, but we have to understand that our democratic system is settling down, is establishing. It would have been entirely unheard of. Some people are saying the present administration rigged themselves into power. President Muhammadu Buhari at that time lost Katsina State to the PDP. President Tinubu lost Lagos State to the Labour Party, and nothing happened. So why do we think anything is going to happen when people lose? Yes, there will be disgruntled people, but they will all realize that they need to still be engaged in the game at the end of the day. Those senators that lost out, members of the House of Reps, all those governors, they are still part of the process today. They've swallowed their pride. They've come back stronger. They've come back to look at where they may be able to help or to recalibrate themselves and to keep on playing the game. But I think the emphasis should be on educating our own people that these politicians, we look at this thing as part of the process of learning. It's like a Ferris wheel. Sometimes politics will take you to the top, sometimes it will bring you to the bottom. But you need to keep on making yourself available for the ride. If you are ever away from the ride, that ride is going to move on without you. So that's what is going to happen. That's the reality. And then people who are watching from outside, fighting, making enemies of friends and family just because of the sake of politics, they need to stop. They need to be a little bit more circumspect and understand that this is how it works. And the only way you can influence it is by being pragmatic and understanding the game.
We're going to see you 2027 in Nigeria. Come cast your vote as an APC member.
Oh, yes. I look forward to that. Thank you very much.
I want to say a big thank you to you for sharing your thoughts with us on Global Morning today, for, again, allowing us crack up your sleep a little. And here is wishing you the best of the day ahead.
Thank you indeed. Thank you very much.
Well, there you have it. 2027 is a matter of months away by our own Gregorian calendar, but for many politicians, it appears is already here. And it makes you wonder if actually we use the same calendar as politicians. But again, I think for citizens, it's a way of saying that, look, get your PVC. If you're eligible, 18 and above, get your PVC. And this is not the time to do armchair sort of contribution. If you want to contest for election, you know what to do. Join a party first of all. If you're not going to be partisan, you don't want to affiliate with a party, be sure that you vote and you vote based on your conscience. Because one of the things we have to take responsibility for is the choices we make as far as elections go. But most times what you find is we vote for a particular person at whatever level, and then we come back and make it look like that person was imposed on us. There's a reason it's called an electoral choice, right? And
I really do think, I totally agree with what you've said. I think Nigerians need to put themselves in that mind, or give themselves that mindset of politicians. Don't start to prepare for elections 1 year before elections. Because right now, a lot of Nigerians have still not gotten to the groove. Right. A lot of people will come, will catch up later. So you need to think as they think. They plan for elections as they are like this. They're already planning for 2030. Just as our guest said. Someone like Atiku is already having prospective reflection towards 2031, and every Nigerian should also think that way. If it doesn't work this year, can we already start planning for next year? Can we start figuring out the person that would, push that person, regardless of whether it works, so that you're not aggrieved. You don't start to fight your friend when the person's candidate does not win. You know that we still have another year to come. Right. And that's the way to go, if you ask me. All right, it's not too late to start. Let's get started. But again, let's take responsibility for the kind of country that we want to see. One very fundamental way to make that happen is through the ballots. Yeah. All right. Well, that's our program for you today. Again, we are grateful to our guest, Ahmed Mahmoudi, who took out time to join us virtually from Houston, Texas, on Global Morning today. Remember that the views of all of our guests across all of our programs are their opinions. I am Uyi Agmofube. And I am Priscilla Obasi, wishing you a beautiful day ahead.